Watch this. No way!
Hello and welcome back to the Cookie Jar Golf podcast or vodcast. I'm not sure what this is. We are live from the Ducks Inn in Gullen?
Aberlady
in East Lothian, Scotland's Gulf Coast. And we are with Malcolm, a proprietor, all-round golf man. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, all-round golf man in Aberlady. Aberlady is interesting. Everyone calls it Aberlady. I don't quite understand why the lady changes into boy in Aberlady. So Malcolm Duck, and I was born in Pakistan to Dr. Donald and Jean Duck. Yes, my father was called Donald Duck, and he was a doctor, and he was a local quack. But he was 10 years pre-Walt Disney. No one believes that. But in the bar across there, you'll see my Pakistani birth certificate hanging with the name of father, Donald Duck, and me.
Who's there? It's a masterpiece.
And me, one item, brackets, only. So Dad, conscientious chapter in the war. I joined the Royal Marines, had 11 years in there. Had an interesting time in Ireland, Falklands, various different things. Learned to play golf in Troon with my Uncle Davy on the west coast. And Jamie Darling's listening, it would be the wet coast. But comes back to the microclimate. Another fantastic area for golf. Loch Green is where I learnt my golf. And then went to Dollar Academy and spent most of my sixth form playing golf when I should have been studying. So my parents weren't delighted and pleased with that. Dollar now is closed, I think, or maybe just reopening one of the struggling golf courses pre-COVID. And interesting what COVID's done, because Muckett, the other course I'm a member of through there, Muckett was on its way out. They've now got 140 new members and 35, 40 grand in the bank. So, COVID's changed life quite a lot. So I lay on a hill in the Falklands thinking I wasn't going to come back, and decided for the rest of my life I was going to enjoy what I did. So after 11 years in the Corps, I'd done most of the things you could do operationally in junior command level, and I moved into restaurants because that's commanding and running a small team. And the public, though I love them, are sort of the enemy. So in a strange kind of way. So I used to kill people for a living, and now I just poison them for a living. So, but we've always done great food. So we're really a restaurant with rooms. And then this hotel in Aberlady came up. It was called the Kilpindy House Hotel. And Kill, I realised when I came out here, is a cell. So it's a church. So the Kilpindy monks, or the Kilmarnock monks, or the Kilmacombe monks. So St Aidan landed here on his way to Lindisfarne. And Aberlady here, we're right in the heart of East Lothian, Scotland's Gulf Coast. There are 21 golf courses within 15 minutes drive. From Muirfield, the honourable company who wrote the rules of golf, to the newly built Renaissance, just having hosted the Scottish Open, to Gifford, beautiful little 9-hole golf course that we took Rich Beam to play on in the rain, which he loved because he grew up on a golf course, and all the Sky guys stay here during the Scottish Opens, didn't this year because of COVID. So I've really developed this place on golf, and I think we're very lucky because golf people are by and large pretty good. They travel. In Scotland, it's a game for everybody. In the rest of the world, it's maybe a slightly more wealthy person's game. But we're just so lucky to some great people coming. And through COVID, we've a whole season of cancellations and trying to move and shift bookings with some difficult conversations. But I've got to say thank you to everyone we've spoken to, because they've made life so much easier for us, just because everyone's trying to do the right thing. So, yeah, golf's kind of important to me. It's great fun playing the other day with you boys at Renaissance.
You put on a bit of a ball striking masterclass, didn't you?
We got hustled quite badly.
You got absolutely turned over. So for context, for anyone who doesn't know, me and Malcolm took on Sir Bruce and Tom, and I think we got about 13 holes in before the light went. And to be fair, we probably only needed 11 or 12 to put the match to bed, didn't we? So let's not dwell on it.
Always a healthy dose of VAT when Sam's involved.
Malcolm put on
it was one-sided,
and he was carrying me around as well. So I was all round very impressive. So you talk a little bit about the Ducks in there, Malcolm. We're obviously sat here now. Would you say there's a little bit of a golf theme running through this place at the moment?
A little bit of a golf theme, yeah. It's a lot of flags in the ceiling. I used to have a house in Troon, and the first one was that open flag up there from Troon, and it ended up going up because we did a leak from room 1, and the ceiling is stained with cigarette smoke because we can't smoke anymore, so we can't redo that. So you can see the papers peeling away. This bar has always been very interesting for me because it's old, traditional. It was getting really scruffy. It's still scruffy enough to be old and traditional, but we replaced all the banquette seating and changed the lighting, and luckily no one's kind of noticed. So I've spent 5 or 6 grand, kind of half upset no one's noticed, and quite half pleased we haven't changed the character. But I think with these places, so many people rip the heart out of nice old traditional hotels. We were built in 1638.
Wow.
So that's not me. It was the building in 1638. So it's been here a long time. So we need to try and maintain the traditions of that. It's a place. I talked to the guys about helping people make memories. So yeah, golf. And we're moving to cycling a bit now with COVID. So quite a big cycling great route for cycling. A lot of golfers cycle as well. Yeah, the flags have kind of proliferated. Did I get that right? I got it wrong, but I'm not.
They're everywhere, though, aren't they? They're in the other room in there. They're just it's just littered. And we were sat here having just waiting to have breakfast this morning, and just like some incredible tracks on the ceiling. So
all at every level as well. When you look at the walls, the ceiling. I mean, the 4 or 5 putters as well, stashed by the bar. The 10 golf balls as well on the bar. There's just. And of course the hat collection as well. I mean that in its own right is pretty remarkable.
I think I see a cookie jar golf cap up there as well, which is
thanks for that, boys. That will take pride of place.
That's the number one now.
The hat's a new collection, so not too many have been nicked, which is nice. That's not an invitation to the world coming.
So tell us about the golf courses then, Malcolm. So you've got 21 golf courses within a 15-mile, 15-minute drive. Obviously, a lot of members at each of those courses predominantly, but also huge hub for tourism. People play kind of a pretty fair mix across those, do you think? Or do you kind of see most of the tourism money kind of go into a few? And
the tourism money goes on to a lot of the links courses. So you've got 1 or 2 smaller courses like Haddington, which is a tremendous little golf course. It's now made itself into 2 9, still play 18. Gifford I mentioned earlier on, Castle Park. They're just not on. They're great golf courses, but a lot of people coming here want to play links golf. We suggest to people maybe try Haddington or somewhere else, because if it's blowing a hoolie and you've had 4 days of being blown about, it's maybe nice to get a break. But people have come here to play links golf, and links golf is it's tougher than all. I talk about gin and tonic golf and links golf. So Spain and Portugal to me are gin and tonic golf, nice and sunny, round in a buggy. Whereas here, you played today, it would have been a little bit windier than yesterday.
Very windy, And
when the wind gets up and the rain comes in, though it doesn't rain here very much, when the rain comes in, it's tough. So you get the Yanks coming across, and if it's been sunny and calm, they complain there's no wind and rain. When it's lots of wind and rain, they complain there's no sun. But that's golf. But links golf needs wind to defend the courses. So Renaissance last year, there was no wind and it was soft, and Sam Torrance was here in the morning. The Monday after, I said, how do you think that went? And he said, if that had been any open course, they would have crucified it, because links golfs just needs a little bit of wind. And the Sunday at Renaissance this year, there was a bit of wind, and it just protected the course. But you've got Kilpindy in our doorstep just outside here. And
we've got that tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm really excited about it. Short course, right?
It's a short course, but I've taken quite a few tour players to play it. You risk reward golf. I'm just trying to think, one coming back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th coming back, you can drive the green. But if you go through the green, you've got a horrible chip back across 2 greens. So actually, do you lay up or do you not lay up? So you still got to think your way around it. Starts off with a par 3, then an interesting par 5, and 2 great par 4s with greens tucked into the side of the beach and the out of bounds, very, very close. And the views are stunning. You look across to what they call the Paps of Fife, two hills across there. Fife, another great area for golf. And then Craigielaw right beside it, which is built about 20 years ago. That's hosted the Scottish seniors not long ago. Wonderfully friendly golf club. Great track. But we are, with COVID, we're getting a lot of members playing golf, so it's getting a bit tougher at the moment to get tee time. So the clubs are set up with a model of visitors, which generate income, and members and green fees. But actually, they're missing the visitor income. So we'll see what happens next year, because having spent a lot of time helping Kilpindy get well known, we're struggling to get tee times on it now, which is annoying but great. But then Longnidry down the road, Harry Colt course, open qualifier. That's kind of a third parkland, a third links, and a third heathland. you're going to the old course at Mossabra. That's the first.
Yeah.
That's where the first hole was ever cut. So this is. I'm sorry, St Andrews.
Yeah, I was going to say, this has been a controversy. Yeah.
Cradle of golf.
They're all fighting for it, right? So they're
No, Scotland's the home of golf. And St Andrews, you know, much as we kind of give them a hard time in East Lothian, standing on that first at the old course is just one of the most magical experiences there is. And North Berwick, you know, down the road here, North Berwick's a wee bit like that, because North Berwick, you start in town and finish in the town. I get a hard time because people think I'm not a North Berwick fan. I am. I just don't think the closing holes are great. Fantastic fun, so welcoming and friendly. I never quite understand why it gets its position in the top 100. Fun courses, great courses, welcoming courses, yeah, but can you compare it to North Berwick, Muirfield to North Berwick? Discuss. Yes, you can, they all say.
It's quirky, right? Like, I'm really excited about it. You've played North Berwick, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I can sympathise with your view there, Malcolm. Definitely, fun is the way to sum it up. But if you compare it to somewhere like a Muirfield, it's not. I don't know if it's in the
Muirfield's not as much fun. I mean, I say with Muirfield.
I really enjoyed Muirfield.
But you played Muirfield today, so.
I'm gonna drop that in there. I dropped some there. But one of many. I mean,
but it just goes to show how there are so many different ingredients, I guess, that go into a great golf course, and it's obviously so inherently subjective. Because as you say, I mean, Muirfield, if it's blowing a stiff wind and you're off the back tees and the greens are quick, I could see how a lot of people could find it really quite disheartening, because it's pretty tight off the tees and it's a tough golf course. But then at the same time, it's there in front of you, isn't it? There's no kind of tricks or gimmicks.
I always say that there are no good holes at Muirfield. They're all better than good, and it's on honest golf, which you can see it. I mean, go back to North Berwick. If it's windy, you're kind of either with the wind or against the wind, one way or t'other. If you get to that par 3/10 and it's a 4-club wind, you've got an 8-club change.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Yeah,
Muirfield's more circular, but I think more people would enjoy playing North Berwick probably than they would playing Muirfield for pure enjoyment terms. But we're talking about. Which would you want to go and play? Both, please, anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really,
That's
and they're all so brilliant, right?
They're just fantastic.
They're all such good golf courses. I wonder whether also like some of the, because there's just so many big names like there. We're just rattling through them, aren't we? Every single one. Gullane, Gillen. I don't know. I'm told today by Ross, the guy who came out with this great guy. He told us that. The posh locals call it Gillen. Everyone else calls it Gullane.
Or one side of the street, actually.
Yeah.
So
like
there is. It's the white settlers, Gillen and Gullane. And have you ever seen a seagull? But there is. I showed you that map last night, 1799.
Wasn't quite sure on the provenance of that, actually. Need to go and get it looked at under a microscope.
Renaissance on there as well, 1799.
It's not quite true. Goolan. Gullane. So I don't know. There is some story about a Gill Lane. But it doesn't matter, because it's 3 great golf courses and they happen to be built 1, 2 and 3.
Is it a bit overlooked by tourists? Because you've got like the North Berwicks, the Muirfields,
I think
Renaissance, Archerfields, all that Kilpindy stuff.
I think what you guys are doing with these podcasts and YouTube videos and things, this kind of generation that's doing that is getting these other courses exposed. People are seeing them and they see them, then they work out how to come and play them. So, all the prices of golf courses have gone up. Golf has gone up dramatically, and that's a lot to do with Americans and tour operators bringing guys in and pushing the prices high, good or bad, big argument discuss. Actually, in COVID, with all the UK golfers coming, and a lot of the golf courses being cheaper, we've still been pretty busy. So there's maybe more of a spread of people playing. But then these courses are great, but then you've got Royal Mossabra. And Royal Mossabra, one of the oldest golf courses in the world, I think that they've got the longest ever continually played for medal going. That's the first hole was cut at the old course in Mossabra, and I think the drain pipe whether they used is at Royal Mossabra. The Glen at North Berwick, I'm pretty sure that's the first course ever to let women in. Municipal course, so a huge amount of history. Another thing about girls and boys golf and single-sex clubs. I mean, I think there are more single-sex girls clubs in Scotland than boys clubs. Mary Queen of Scots' mum played golf. You're allowed to say Mary Queen of Scots' mum or Her Majesty or whatever. But she played golf down here. So women and have played golf in Scotland for ages. So golf in Scotland has always been for everybody. It's not been a elitist, classist thing at all. Yeah, and then Moncton Hall down in Musselburgh. That's a James Braid course. That was the last year of open qualifiers. That became an open qualifier. So if you look at opens, so Longnidree, Gullen 2, Gullen 1, Dunbar, North Berwick, and Moncton Hall have all been open qualifiers.
Really?
Yeah, and then 2 open courses, Musselburgh and Muirfield, because the Honourable Company were at Musselburgh, and then they moved to Muirfield when they got the land there. And I think the second at Gullen, is that called the racetrack? The second one on top
Might
of the hill.
be. Where you play up to the funnel green.
Yeah.
That green is, by the way, is ridiculously tight. I think it's like 4 yards wide.
The fairway, the fairway's pretty narrow too, but yeah.
I want to talk about Gullen 1 because actually this morning, like the views up there are staggering, aren't they? And it was blowing a pretty stiff breeze.
Around that kind of 360 view you get around the county is just
It's incredible, isn't it? Like it genuinely is, and I think the town just like lives, eats, sleeps, and breathes golf, and it has that. It's like St Andrews, it has that different sort of smell in the air where you can see people wheeling a trolley through a high street, and it's
and almost starting and finishing in the town as well. I know it's more the road, not necessarily building,
but and all 3 courses do that.
Yeah, there is just something very nice and appealing about being able to essentially walk from town straight to the first tee, essentially.
And that's why the Scottish Open was so good there as well. But the problem is it takes up longer to build it and put it up because you've got to deal with all the traffic in the village and so on and so forth. I mean, Gullen 2, some of the locals think Gullen 2 is as good, if not better, than Gullen 1.
And does that straddle both sides of the road, or is that... okay.
Yeah, 2 and 3 straddle both sides of the roads.
Yeah.
So if we're going to ask you an unfair question, because we're going to talk about some of the new kids on the block as well, so, the Renaissance, the Archerfields of the world, but if we had to pin you on any of the kind of the old school golf courses in and around East Lothian, if you've got one round left in you, where would it be?
Well, that's very interesting because Muirfield's one of the best golf courses in the world without a doubt. But if I'm only got one round of golf to play ever again in my life, Kilpindy being my top 5 in the world.
Wow.
Because I don't want to go and be beaten up my last round of golf. I don't want to go and play a Carnoustie and be spat out. I don't want to really play a Muirfield and be spat out, or a Renaissance or a Troon or something like that. Whereas, the views for me, particularly with looking across at the Paps of Fife, reminds me of the Falklands and the Two Sisters. The attack we did there where we lost some good friends, so there's an emotional attachment there. And it's just a great golf course. The views are stunning, and if you play well, you'll be rewarded. And if you play badly, you won't be spat out. I maybe want to play 2 rounds because it's a little bit shorter than some of the ones. And I want to finish. I want to
cram it in, just keep going.
But I think I've consistently said Kilpindy would be in my top 5 if that was the last game of golf I ever had to play. With Hickories, I don't know, maybe
we've got Hickories.
We've got
Hickories
that
great.
up. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be fun. Yeah, to see both Kilpindy and also go back to the Hickory and the old ball. It will be a real treat, I think.
Should we talk about Renaissance?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
So
we played it Saturday. Yeah. We were lucky, right? Let's hand it out there. We're really lucky to go with you.
It was an absolute delight, to play with you and just get the whole story essentially from your perspective. And obviously, I mean, the Ducks Inn had a pretty integral part to play in kind of being the war room where Renaissance was conceived, essentially.
I bought this in 2004, and Jerry Savardi, who runs it, came for a coffee about 2-3 weeks afterwards. We'd kind of grown up in East Lothian together, so they stayed here, and the green room was the map room, so Doak and the guys, Tom and the guys all stayed here, Don Placek, and there's somewhere a great video sitting at the bar of Tom talking about the course. And Renaissance, you say, it's, hard to get onto. They're trying to be as accommodating as they can for a very, very private course. So very beginning, the concept was to maybe have 2 days pay and play, and different days from Muirfield. But then they realised that in America, a private course you can't buy around. So if you're trying to sell memberships in the States,
exclusivity rules.
Exclusivity is really, really important. Right. But if you go on the website and look for the one-time experience, it's not the one-time experience. Retrack. It was called the one-time experience. It's now called the Renaissance experience. You can go on and you can book, and there are tour operators that can do that too. And members can put unaccompanied guests on. I took you down. I've got some guys playing there in a couple of days who are friends. So members can nominate people to play. So I people I know well come and stay here. They go down and play as well. So the Renaissance experience, you can just go on the website and look and see. And the prices going to quote prices just now because its prices are fluctuating like anything just now with COVID and different things and so on and so forth. But they're like all the golf courses, some better winter deals. But it is a very private course, and those times if you want to go and get on there is a Monday morning and a Wednesday. So it's gone back to that kind of older feel of what they're doing. But no, your green room was where it was, and the course was Jerry Savardi, to say, and his the family, 6 brothers and 3 sisters. Girls have been across once, but all the brothers play golf and are daft golfers. Jerry and David, so kind of 2 halves of the family. John and Paul, the 2 younger ones. Their parents were a little bit more advanced, a bit more richer, and they kind of moved, so they had a different upbringing from the first 4. So David and Jerry and Mike especially, they didn't have a lot, so they spent a lot of time on the golf course picking up golf balls and range balls and caddying and just on the golf course. They weren't doing anything on the golf course. And I think Jerry was actually caddy master for an American tour event that Palmer won. Wow. He was the caddy master at like 19 or 18. And Paul Savardi has Jim Nance doing all his adverts for Insperity, and before that it was Palmer. Arnold Palmer. I think Paul's about the only person in Augusta that's nominated by Arnold Palmer. So, and he runs Insperity. They run the big Champions Tour event in the States, which is extremely well run and so on. So he's pretty invested in golf and has been for quite a long time. So anyway, the family were very dispersed. So their father, the boy's father, George Savardi, he decided to get them all together, and we went on a pit trip to Pinehurst. So all the sons, all the son-in-laws, all the kids, all the boys went on this trip to Pinehurst. This had gone on for a few years. I actually was lucky enough to be invited on the very last one. And one year, they're about to go to dinner, and Jerry said, "Guys, before dinner, we've got a presentation from a couple of guys from Scotland about building a golf course in Scotland." I said, "What? What have you been smoking? You've been drinking? We haven't had dinner yet. You don't do golf courses." And the presentation happened, and it's near Muirfield, how near half an hour, kind of par 4. And then Jerry came across and evaluated it, and now we have Renaissance. And it's really interesting dynamic between Jerry and Paul, because Jerry's second oldest, Paul's second youngest. They're both pretty successful. Paul extremely successful, but very much about giving back. So you've got the second youngest who's helping a lot with the finance, with the second oldest running it, and really committed, moved his family across here. Carly, you saw yesterday, she's been at school in Scotland. And Jerry's been a real driving force, trying to get from A to B. And interesting how he's interrelated and reacted with the European Tour on green position, on maintenance of the course and how they get things done. Because obviously last year the conditions were quite benign, and for the girls it was quite short. So it's been great fun being involved in that. And I've marshalled all 4 tournaments in 2 years, which has been fantastic, being so close up to the golfers, playing the golf course you've kind of grown up with. So yeah, an interesting kind of event, and all the brothers come across they all came across last year. They couldn't come across this year, obviously, which is
well, we're quick on the pod, aren't we, to critique and kind of put down new courses, because he's just kind of, all the fondness with the history and, all the kind of stuff, golden age, golden era course architecture. And I went to play Renaissance thinking this place is just going to be a really good golf course, but it's just going to have all the trappings that go with being a fantastic, stupidly good, private members club that is reserved really for the mega wealthy. And the course was absolutely unreal. The course was genuinely top drawer. I was blown away by it, and I it's a big ticket, but I'll tell you what, it's a hell of a treat when you get to do it. And I think I was blown away with Renaissance and just the whole experience there. What was it like working with? Well, I suppose sitting there and seeing kind of Tom Doak and sitting there and watching. I guess they were kind of sketches on the walls, were there?
He's not worked on any other UK courses that I'm aware of, or is he?
He did a bit.
Okay, yeah.
Woodhull Spa as well.
Was that a new build essentially, or was that restorative work?
I should know all the history of that, and I don't. I think he went and helped with some of it. I think someone else has helped with a bit, and he has gone around and looked and talked to other people on different things. But Renaissance is the kind of big one he's done. And
same name as his design firm as well, isn't it? It's Renaissance Design.
Yeah, Renaissance Design.
That's his design.
So the reason the golf club's called Renaissance or Renaissance is because Jerry felt it's a renaissance of the area. So he's Archfield are there as well. So they've done the big house. They've redone the walled garden. They've planted loads of beech trees. So Jerry gets a bit of a hard time for cutting down trees. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But he's also planted 3,000 trees. So taking stuff down, but planted in that discussion about should you have trees in links golf course and all the rest. And I think we talked about that the other day. And I think I think it's sad to see Carnoustie's lost lots of trees, but that's RNA. So it needs to be a mix. But when you get those views and vistas, and actually we lack grasslands in Scotland more than we lack trees. So a lot of the trees that are there are old commercially planted trees from Second World War. Yeah. And they're not particularly pretty.
And they're not really supposed to be. I mean, a lot of them are diseased and dying off.
And dying off. Cause they're not, yeah. But yeah, I mean, Tom Doak is just he and Jerry are interesting characters because they've got big hearts and they're incredibly generous. They're incredibly driven. But if you ask them a question, you get an answer. And it might not be the
straight shooters.
Loggerheads.
No, they get on.
Arm wrestling in the green room.
The green room. Yeah. No, they're an instinct to know Tom quite well. He's very passionate about his golf, but he's also realistic. And I think he's got older, he's more realistic because he builds a golf course and then he may be not like to come back and touch it. And other people have moved it and done it and changed it. Jerry has continually gone back to Tom to ask and so on. And Paul Seago, who's there, is a very, very good head greenkeeper. So he's I think he's the only greenkeeper who's been on the RNA's Greens Committee for a bit. I think that's changed now. So yeah, I mean to grow up with a golf course like that, but also I was there when Archfield opened as well, and those are two great golf courses. So people say which is better, Archfield or Renaissance? Well, 3 blooming golf courses. It's a crazy
Splitting hairs, aren't you? So they've been good for the area. So I guess
yes, I think they have
offering a different product.
When did Archfield open?
2004.
Okay, so a little bit before.
And Fidra was 2004, and Duralton was 2006, I think. Yeah, but the other thing is they built good accommodation. So we haven't got lots of really high-end accommodation. We're 4-star, so lots of bed and breakfasts. So Archerfield have got. Kevin Dole's been very, very sensible. He's brought lots of lodges, so you don't have to maintain them all year, so you can shut them down and open them up. Right. Jerry's now got Renaissance. He's got the big lodge and 4 houses and some rooms in the clubhouse, and then the 2 villas. So those and again with the Renaissance, the Americans coming across, they stay here for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 times a year. So they use all the restaurants. Whereas actually with the Gullens and the Muirfields and North Berwick's, they bus in from St Andrews or from Edinburgh, get off the bus, play golf, get back on the bus and go. So the economic benefit to the rest of the area.
It's bringing in more and putting more money into other clubs as well as like a byproduct of that.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
With Scotland's Golf Coast, we now all work together. So there are 6 of us on the steering group for that. 3 golf club guys and 3 accommodation guys.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that, how you got involved with Scotland's Golf Coast and that kind of the tourist aspect to it from starting in hospitality.
So when I left the Royal Marines and opened my Edinburgh restaurant, I didn't know the difference between an invoice and a statement, which was a bit of a problem. And at one point started paying both, which wasn't the brightest idea. But my background's Royal Marines, and that's very collegiate working, and that's working with good people. So I quickly made friends with a guy called Derek Tang and James Thompson at Witchery and some of these guys, and we formed the Edinburgh Restaurateurs Association. And that was single owners gathered once a month, and we did a lot of good stuff. When I came out here, I wanted to do something similar. Time wasn't right. I had too much going on. I had 2 or 3 other businesses going. And Alan Minto, who you'll meet, who's working with Jamie Darling on Scotland nationwide stuff that you're doing, was the golf officer for East Lothian. So he'd set up a meeting at Whitekirk, which is no longer 50 odd people. And they were all going to put £1,000 in, but they got mixed up and confused between what was sales, what was marketing, and what was advertising. And the meeting was dissolving, and 50 people put £1,000 in. Let that go. And we all hear about just getting more business. Yes, let's do a subgroup, and we move from there. And then I was the founding chairman of that, and so Alan and I did that. Alan then moved on. And we moved it into being Scotland's Golf Coast because I got hacked off in Home Golf and St Andrews being Home Golf. So we'll be Scotland's Golf Coast. And I'd actually bought scotlandgolfcoast.com and .co.uk before I came out here. So I had an Edinburgh Golf Coast and a bunch of other things. But David Isaac, who's across the road in the village, he's a great poster designer. He works in that business and family. and Andrew Coulthart lived in the village, and Doug Wilkie, who's with the putting games. We all kind of got together and hacked things around a lot and came up with some ideas. And then David at Family, they put a big thing together, and that's where that birthed. And the council fund it, but it's really now driven very much by the private sector. And this has been a really testing year for us. Dave Cockerton at Garton Lodge has been very instrumental in making it businesslike. And Dave's a great guy. He's also another man who will give you a very blunt answer that you maybe don't necessarily want, but maybe I fall in that bracket too. So we've now got almost everybody rejoined this month because we gave them 50% off. So to get almost everyone rejoined in a COVID year going forward, I think is huge. So the new website, scotlandsgolfcoach.com, is working very well. Got packages and all the accommodation, all the golf courses. You can look and book
that's
all
cool.
through that. So that's really good to look at. And it also means you're talking to each other. So through that, we've shared, guidance from Scottish government, because it's kind of hard to understand at times, because a lot of things are changing so quickly. It's easy to knock them, but I'm not saying the messaging hasn't been fantastic. On the back of that, we ended up writing a letter to the First Minister from Scottish golf hotels and golf courses that I got together, but that really came from East Lothian, from Jerry Savardi and David and myself and Gil Donald down the road here, who's another PR guy. So that kind of collegiate working and other things begins to happen. So if we're talking to Gordon at Gullen, for the secretary at Gullen, how do we make things work? Oh, we've got a problem. Yeah, let's sort that out. How do we stay? What do we do? How do we get that sorted out? It works pretty well.
Yeah, and it's a collaborative approach, I guess, which is, as you say, I mean, it's particularly this year where a lot more members want to play. I guess it's not as difficult to ensure that the members are still able to go and play their home courses, but at the same time, when you've got visitors coming in, it's obviously great for the local economy and getting them onto courses that maybe they're under impression that they're quite exclusive and tough to get on. Facilitating that, it's a very rewarding process.
Absolutely. And, if you have a bad message, at least you're all saying the same thing. I mean, somebody phoned me up the day and said that, I hadn't refunded the deposit every other golf course and every hotel had. Well, almost every golf course and hotel has not. We've moved them to next year. Yeah. But if we hadn't had that collegiate way of working, weren't talking and knowing those things, really, you feel under pressure.
Of course,
you've got to be careful because there are rules in place that we don't price fix and all that kind of stuff, so you've got to be aware of all that. But then it's easy to become aware of the rules because somebody knows about that and someone knows about that, and you tell each other. So and it's fun. So soon, hopefully, we'll all be able to play golf together and get things moving. But that's really the back of what we're trying to do with Alan and Jamie with taking this kind of more nationwide. We'll still do our region with East Lothian because it's a great region, and I think the brand is pretty good. And, it came across really well in the Scottish Open, and the hits and stuff we're getting on the website are really good. So for me, I will be a member of both things for sure.
And what are typically the trips that you see? I wouldn't want to generalise too much. Is there a typical length of time or selection of courses that you will see people who are visiting this this stretch of coast for the first time that they'll typically opt for or try and play, or how what's the kind of, what are the different I guess, I don't want to say packages, but different options that people would tend to go for?
Well, we put packages up on our website, Scotland's Golf Course website. But you've got to be careful because you get bonded and the rules and regulations go with that. So that promotes people asking, what can you do for us? And when they're almost all bespoke. But people coming in, Tom Coyne, he's done some of the guys.
Yeah, we've had Tom on the pod before.
So he's done some really good, some of these guys done some great books. If they see the kind of videos and listen to podcasts,
it tells the stories behind the golf clubs, which is what we're all about, right?
Absolutely.
Because how do you pick between all these world-class golf courses?
If you've only got a week or something,
I've got
and
a
you're
week, but I want to play all, and then you end up just like box ticking and going on rankings, which but
a lot of the Americans will come and they'll do the open courses, they'll do the top 100 courses, so there's those kind of things as well. But once you get them, then you can say, look, why are you traveling and you're changing bed every night? From here to Troon is 2 hours. From here to Turnberry is 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm probably half an hour too long there. St Andrews is 2.5 hours. So nowhere is far. Helicopters are now people are beginning to use a lot more. Aberdeen is what, half an hour?
Really? You do a bit of that, so people jump on, get a helicopter, go and do.
Absolutely.
From Royal Aberdeen, right?
And then you're looking at Machrihanish and these kind of courses, then you can get to there much easier in a helicopter than you can. You know, people forget Scotland's quite small.
Yeah.
So
It's just a long way to drive.
Call me up. You know, people call me up. Can you get on your Renaissance or Archerfield? Sure, of course we can. As long as you know you play by the rules, it's fine. But also, if someone says, you know, I've been to your place once and I want to do this, where else can I stay? We're still going to help them because if Grey Walls is full, then more people will come to me, and you work backwards and forwards. It's all about getting round pegs into round holes. So. You know, our rooms are clean and comfortable. They're not massive. Showers are pretty good. We've done a lot of work with those. I'm just laughing at Radar, because this very quick story with Radar and the Scottish Open. So first time they stayed, they're on the Scottish Open commentating, and Radar says to Coulthard that he's got a very good scam to make a lot of money, and what's that? We'll bring the power shower to Scotland, which is, can it go at my showers? Thanks, Radar. And we found out that the pressure in the street hadn't been turned on properly, so they got that going, and that was fine. And then the next one, they came back at Gullen, and we got a lot of the showers fixed and sorted up and all the rest. And I've been telling Rich Beamer about our microclimate, because telling you boys...
Yeah, we need to get that in this
temperature
podcast,
inversion.
sure.
Jamie, this is especially for you, Jamie, darling.
So just so we're clear, the land in East Lothian is of biblical quality, and it never rains in the day between 10 and 4.
10 and 5, about 10 and 5. So
because of Gullen Hill.
Geography, and if you go into geography and temperature inversion, so the clouds go up, it rains. The west coast is high, so the clouds go up quickly, it rains. So the east coast of Scotland is in the rain shadow of the west coast of Scotland if the weather's coming from that direction. Then we have the Forth River coming down past East Lothian, and Gullen Hill is high. So during the daytime, when the rain comes, it doesn't like going up, so it tends to go out the Forth or inland, or preferably goes and rains in Fife. That's very naughty. No, Fife's fine. So we do have this microclimate between 10 and 5. We don't get a lot of rain. Scottish Open, Saturday, my microclimate wasn't working. It was kind of wet.
That was one.
But then at night, the pressures change, temperature inversion, and then the rain comes in because of the pressures. I don't really understand all that, but that's what happens. And I know everywhere's got a microclimate, but Dunbar is one of the sunniest places in Scotland, and the wee island on the River Forth is the lowest rainfall certainly in Scotland. Maybe not quite as low as Rabatt. I might have told Rich Beam when he said it on the telly, which was maybe a wee mistake, Beamer. I'm sorry about that.
But I can attest to it. So we were there today. So we got up to the 7th on Gullen 1. Bruce had wiped his drive well right. It's irrelevant to the story, but I just thought I'd lob that in.
No, I'd hit that one tight down the left.
Which one? Where we were up the top and it was raining.
Yeah,
It was six.
It can't be raining between
No, well, no, it was starting to roll in. Either way, Bruce had a
That's
terrible
six.
drive.
That's six.
Roughly
yeah.
about this time in the round, Bruce.
You know, you've really got your opposition sort of under the thumb when they have to single out your bad shots. I've dominated them on this tour, but carry on.
So we, the rain's starting to come in. It's dark, it's cloudy, and it looks like it's going to pass straight over our heads. And you're absolutely right. It just all of a sudden seemed to just take a little U-turn, head off inland. And we kind of enjoyed the rest of it. And small sample, but I was convinced we were going to get soaked. And,
It did
and
look
good as
ominous.
gold. It did work, didn't it?
We didn't get any rain.
It was pretty
at all.
crazy.
Windy, but so I've heard that actually, even just 10 minutes away at Dunbar, you might get a lot more rain than you would in the courses immediately around Gullen Hill. Is that
Dunbar is
partly
the
related
sun.
to
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, Dunbar, I think, has more sunlight hours than most places in Scotland.
Yeah.
It's known as Sunny Dunny.
Okay.
But certainly that...
Maybe I was confusing it with North Berwick then, actually, on that.
Well, North Berwick sometimes gets what we call the har, that kind of sea mist.
Right,
that
yeah,
comes
okay.
in. And that kind of comes in, doesn't happen very often, but when it comes in, it can be quite claggy. That interestingly doesn't come as far as Aberlady. It kind of stops round about Archerfield. So it doesn't come in much. Renaissance gets it just occasionally, but it seems to move away from there. I don't know the absolute geography terms for pressures for why that happens, but it's something to do with, I don't know exactly what or why.
Fascinating.
Incredible.
It's a pest when it happens.
Can we? There's another sport that's quite popular down in Aberlady, and that is obviously Barstool Putting. So can you tell us a little bit about how this sport came about? Because I think I wasted...
genesis of
I've hurt my
Barstool
back
Putting.
about
Genesis of
spending 3
Barstool
hours
Putting.
stood on a stool last night.
There is a man in Aberlady village called Doug Wilkie, and Doug Wilkie has a shed, and he likes making things from wood. And Ardglass come play the village every year, backwards and forwards. And one year, almost 10 years ago, because I'm hanging on to my 50s, and I was hanging on to my 40s at this point. And Doug had made these wooden games for playing if it was raining or indoors or whatever else and so on. There was a seesaw that I particularly thought was good. So on my 50th birthday, he appeared with that duck you saw last night, which is a wooden duck made out of, I think it's elm, Doug, I can't remember. And it's beautifully carved, and it's got a track running up its back and a wee hole in its head. And 2 wee pins sit under his belly into a wooden block. So his tail's down and the head's up. The ball goes up the ramp in the head and it goes down. And if it stays in there, then you get your name on the wall. So he's a bit tender. So Doug then saw this coming on, and he formed a wee company called Putt Up. So he made 3 games. You got that one there, which is straight putt, hanging on the wall, and they all hang beautifully on the wall. So you have to get it from the bottom into the hole. Then you turn around, and on the other end, we didn't do that last night. So and then the other side is much thinner. So that's straight putt.
Wow.
And then pace putt is the seesaw, which we did last night. So now you got the seesaw, and you got to get it up, and it's very delicate. And down, and then
You got to be dead weight with your pace, haven't you?
It's stupidly hard, to be fair.
Dead weight.
Even from the carpet, it's got to be dead weight to the very end, because otherwise it either shoots back too quickly and doesn't have enough time to counterbalance, to move the balance back down, or it doesn't have enough speed to get far enough up to tilt the ramp in the first place. It's perfectly balanced.
So the Barstool part was Olivier Leglise, who played in the Tour, French player, great French coach, and Greg Birdie had been across and practicing. And Greg had come up with his girlfriend at that point, Annabelle, and I married with a couple of kids. And we'd had a chat, and my barman had been caddying for him. And I invited Annabelle for dinner the next night, hoping Fiona was away, and they just told Greg he didn't need to come, didn't really want to. And and of course they came with Olivier, who is Olivier Leglise, and Greg and Annabelle are just super people too, but Olivier Leglise is just one of the nicest guys in the world. So we're all putting on the bar stool. Olivier's got the bar on the carpet. Olivier got the bar stools, and that was the origin of the Barstool Putting. Complete sexual equality, because Olivier started and Annabelle was next up.
But there's names all over, like all over here and over here. So there's,
golfing immortality. Really,
this is, if you want your name, this is probably my only shot tonight at golfing immortality, is getting on this wall. There's some pretty good names I'd be joining if I got up there, aren't there?
Mr. Coulthardt's up there, Gary Nichols up there.
Beamer? Did Beamer give it a go?
Beamer's not been up there. No, Beamer.
Has he had a crack at it?
He has been on the bar stool, but I think maybe having won a major, he doesn't really feel too about whatever else. He's actually probably really pissed off right now, saying
possibly flaky with a flat stick. We
there.
don't know, do we? Yeah.
Beamer's, and again,
maybe he was still in those showers. I don't know.
He's one of the
just trying to get the pressure.
He's one of the good guys in the world. And just when the Scottish Open, last couple of times I've played 2 or 3 rounds with him, and that works really well because you and Murray and Andrew know the courses so well, so they bounce off. And you're playing Gifford up there with Beamer, and he was brought up. His dad was a pro and was a head pro at the 9-hole course, so he just loved being up there and playing in the rain. Just in his bag, beautiful little bag he's got. I'm not sure it's a Mackenzie's. I'm not sure what it is. Bag. He's got a lovely little bag with the clubs he just played in the tournament with a couple of weeks before when he shot that. What was he, 9 over last year? He was 9 over on the second day, missing the cut, and he shot the best back 9 of the entire tournament. Made the cut. Shot 12 over on the third day, and he was the guys were looking at him saying, Beamer's smiling a lot. He's smiling walking off that 18th. He was interviewed afterwards, and they said, why are you smiling so much? Man, if I could shoot 12 over on the third day of every tournament, I'd be a happy boy. And I think he shot 69 the next day. And was that best?
I think was it the year before? I can't remember. He was absolutely blown away with the fact he made a cut, wasn't he? I can't remember.
Yeah, but he also shot the best 9 of the entire tournament.
Unbelievable.
2 69s. So he's some golfer. But yeah, no,
Eric Van Rooyen.
Eric Van Rooyen's up there.
Yeah. Old.
I mean, rugby guys.
Was he doing that in his special sort of 3/4 look like
taking off pants?
Yeah. Or
Eric's just a really nice guy. I did say to Brad, a South African lad who won Scottish Open at Gullen.
Brandon Stone.
Brandon Stone.
Yeah. Had the putt for 59.
Renaissance last year. I did say to Brad, you haven't got your name on the wall. You may have the Scottish Open, but Eric's got his name on the wall, so which is more important.
We come back to it. It's golfing immortality. We've had 36 hours, I think, in East Lothian on tour, and we've got about another 24 hours left in it. But it's been absolutely epic trip.
Magical place.
Are there any other kind of parting words for people coming through the area? Because I guess it's not just rich Americans coming in and kind of want to play some mega tracks. You've got different trips. You can pretty much do everything here, can't you? On any budget with any desire.
I mean, golf is for everybody, and I said, it's good people. We by and large don't cheat. Come and enjoy yourself. Ducks is all about making memories. That's what we want to do. It's kind of what we want to do in East Lothian. There's golf for everybody. Different time of years, it's the prices change. The winter golf is great. It's all remember, and you're playing good golf. You get a bit of holiday.
It all drains, doesn't it? It drains like a colander out there.
It's a bit darker, but more time for eating and drinking. But no, just come and enjoy it. We're not up our noses. The whole of Scotland, whether you're in East Lothian, whether you're in Fife, you're in St Andrews or Ayrshire or these places, there'll be someone to look after you. And certainly, any give me a holler if you're going wherever, and I'll happily try and put you in touch with somebody. And that's what we are in Scotland. We're a very welcoming, very hospitable, slightly dour race. But we love welcoming people to our country and to our golf courses and to our restaurants and hotels.
There's a lot more to go. Good, man. Yeah. We've really enjoyed that. You're a star.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks
Should
for
we
coming.
get some food?
Enjoyed your company. I think dinner time.
Absolutely.
Watch
Thanks, Malcolm.
this.